Exchange and Consul General of Switzerland in Hong Kong. Again, rainy morning, thank you so much for being on time, and there will be a lot of other people coming joining. They are going to be a little bit late, and then we started late, and I promise you I'm going to give you the break on time. I'm going to be really straight on time control, and my colleagues will help me, and they are all around. For Civic Exchange, we have been conducting water resources management research since 2009, and then we've been publishing quite a number of reports and organized at least 3 other water seminars in the past with my brilliant former colleague Su Liu here, and then she is also going to be joining us as a panel member in the second session. And then for today, we are very honored to have another opportunity to collaborate with the Consulate General of Switzerland. The last time that we collaborated was last year in the fall or winter time. We looked at energy, and this time we collaborated again to look at water resources management. And special thanks to the sponsor, of course, EBP, Ernst, Balzer, and partners. Thank you very much for supporting us on this occasion. For many of us, water or water resources management may be a salient issue, but if we looked at the room today, I'm sure there is hope. Well, we know that Hong Kong, we import about 80% of our water from Dongjiang, and we also learned from the government that it's right now reviewing the total water management strategy and also reviewing water tariff, which has not been adjusted since 1995, so about 20 years. So we've got heavyweights from our government today, Undersecretary for Development, Mr. Eric Ma, and also Mr. Igno Lam, Director of Water Supplies Department. Joining us this morning also, we've got lots of colleagues from Drainage Services Department, and they may be able to share and shed lights on the Hong Kong issues. And then we've got Swiss experts, of course, sharing the experience, what Switzerland has gone through in terms of managing their water resources. For many people, Switzerland, plenty of water, water tower of Europe. What are the similarities that they are facing? At the same time, Hong Kong is facing. Today will be the occasion for us to exchange ideas and also to exchange experience. So without further ado, I'm going to invite Mrs. Rita Hammerli-Weschke, Consul General of Switzerland, to deliver her remarks, and then she's going to tell us broadly the macro perspective, how Switzerland has been managing water resources in their country.
Thank you very much. I think I'm sitting down because it's not my expert team, of course. I try to give you an overview of what's happening in Switzerland, but I think I still need my notes, so I'm sitting down. Is this mic working? Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Yeah. With the mic? Yeah. It's always a pleasure to be here with Civic Exchange. Thank you for organizing another seminar together with us. Really appreciate it. And thank you for giving Switzerland the opportunity to show a little bit how we manage our water resources in Switzerland. We will have, of course, some expertise afterwards. And I'm really looking forward to see the similarities and the different challenges that Hong Kong and Switzerland are facing. Yes, Switzerland is often called water tower of Europe. It benefits from large water reserves. 6% of Europe's freshwater reserves are stored in Switzerland. Indeed, water rather than chocolate is Switzerland's most important and precious product. Its role as Europe's reservoir places Switzerland under a special obligation to make every effort to conserve water resources. Water is also an important driving force of the country's economy and a fundamental element of its landscape and culture. Today, Switzerland's inhabitants are supplied with clean drinking water, but this idyllic Heideland scenery wasn't always as beautiful as depicted. In the 1950s and 60s, wastewater from Switzerland's factories, businesses and households flowed practically untreated back into the country's streams, lakes and rivers. It was common for streams to be covered in scum or have a strange color. Of course, we never had the nice blue light that you see now in Hong Kong, but we still had other colors. Stocks of fish regularly died. A construction boom and a rapid increase in the number of cars and other vehicles brought ever more noise, air pollution, and the progressive expansion of built-up areas at the expense of the countryside. Even if Switzerland is rich in water, it is important to protect and use water in a sustainable manner at the national level. The oil crisis in the 70s and pollution of the environment prompted to make use of renewable energy. Thanks to its topography and high levels of annual rainfall, Switzerland offers the ideal conditions for the utilization of hydropower, and since the end of the 19th century has energetically promoted its use. Hydropower is Switzerland's longest serving and most important source of renewable energy. However, the new renewables, including solar, wood, biomass, wind, geothermal, and ambient heat, also play an increasingly important role in Switzerland's energy mix. Roughly 20% of the energy consumed in Switzerland comes from renewable sources. The Swiss have long been aware of the need to protect their natural resources. Switzerland's federal forestry law of 1876 is among the world's earliest pieces of environmental legislation. Since 1953, provisions for environmental protection have been incorporated in the federal constitution. A measure creating a federal role in town and rural planning by allowing the central government to set the ground rules for the cantonal master plans to effect in January 1980. However, many problems remain to be solved. Switzerland is acutely aware of the threat of climate change. The immediate impact of temperature rises on the human population will come from the mountains and their cover of snow and ice. In the last few decades, the temperature in Europe's higher mountain region has increased by 1 degree Celsius. Research shows that the trend is continuing. Human settlements will be affected by landslides and floods. The all-important tourism industry will suffer as the areas available for winter sports shrink more and more. Agriculture will also be hit. So how is Switzerland dealing with all these issues? Who decides? And how are these decisions implemented? There is a federal water protection law, a federal law on hydraulic engineering, and a federal law on water use. Basically, the control of all waters existing in a canton is part of its sovereign right. You just saw the map of Switzerland. We have 26 little cantons, and in the end we all have to adapt it on a federal level. So it makes things even a little bit more complicated with the legislation. The canton is therefore entitled to make agreements with other cantons and private bodies in order to put into execution the federal and cantonal water regulation. The actual legal water framework has led to stop the federal subsidies to wastewater treatment plants and has now started to implement the pollute user pays principle for the financing of the necessary infrastructure. The federal law of 8 October 1971 on the protection of waters against pollution was consequently applied mainly to centralized wastewater treatment and with the prevention of fuel spills, defining uniform water limit values, quality goals for all water types, and prescribe measures to meet these goals using best available technology, not entailing excessive costs. I think there all governments have similar problems. In order to fully implement the legal framework, billions of Swiss francs, mainly through state subsidies, were invested in wastewater treatment facilities. So that today, the wastewater of more than 97% of Swiss population is now being treated. Nowadays, thanks to significant investments in wastewater management, people enjoy bathing in lakes and rivers without health risks. In summertime, you will see many swimmers in the rivers of towns and cities, even sometimes with a factory in the background. We have experts with us today, so I will spare you more policy details. But just mention that, apart from the Constitution, there is a series of laws and ordinances on and related to water, including the legislation of forest management, spatial planning, agriculture, nature protection, waste management, and chemicals. In quintessence, the main goals of the Swiss water legislation are surface and subsurface water bodies need to be protected against adverse impacts. Human beings and goods must be protected against water-related hazards. A sustainable use of water resources and water bodies must be secured. Water scarcity, management, and protection are issues that have kept scientists, economists, and environmentalists busy for ages. Nowadays, it has become a critical issue that concerns every nation, some being hit harder than others, but the clock is ticking. And this, of course, is a hidden comment on Switzerland. And sooner or later, we will all face acute water shortage. It would be simple to blame climate as the major enemy, but socio-economic development has a greater influence on water management. And this is our responsibility. Please allow me to say a few words on water consumption. On average, across Switzerland, water supply systems depend about 40% from free-flowing spring water, about 40% from pumped groundwater, and about 20% from surface water, and they're mostly lakes. Drinking water is split between different uses. 66% for households and small businesses, 15% for commerce and industry, 7% for public purposes, 12% loss and used by waterworks. The average daily drinking water consumption is about 160 liters per capita. About 38% of all drinking water from springs and pumped groundwater in Switzerland that does not need any pre-treatment. Larger water supply utilities disinfect it mainly as a precautionary measure. However, drinking water taken directly from surface waters, meaning almost exclusively lakes, needs pre-treatment. In addition, almost all the runoff water is used to generate electricity in hydroelectric power plants. As a concerned citizen, realizing that water management has become more complex, in particular, the increasing trend for different interests to overlap. What is needed to overcome these challenges is greater cooperation between politicians, administrators, private industry, and civil society. We need to rethink our understanding of our roles and seek new institutional models, processes, procedures, and instruments. Water covers 70% of our planet, and it is easy to think that it will always be plentiful. However, fresh water, the liquid we drink, bath in, irrigate our farm fields with, is incredibly rare. Only 2% of the world's water is fresh water, and 2/3 of that is tucked away in frozen glaciers or otherwise unavailable for use. Currently, some 1.1 billion people worldwide lack access to water, and a total of 2.7 billion find water scarce for at least 1 month of the year. At the current consumption rate, this situation will only get worse. By 2025, 2/3 of the world's population may face water shortages, and ecosystems around the world will suffer even more. Not only currently in Brazil, Africa, or mainland China, but everywhere, pressure on water resources and increasing conflicts of interest represent a huge challenge. The small-scale, sectorial structures of water management are now reaching their limits, forcing us to drastic change of perspective from small-scale sectoral action to consideration of the river system as a whole. The integrated management of water in the catchment area, watershed management for short, requires a new level of consideration. Water bodies are to be viewed in the context of the whole river system and managed as a unit within their watersheds. This allows efficient and targeted water management through regional coordination, transparent balancing of interests, and clear priority setting. This is future-oriented. Under the title A Tap of Change, I'm glad that experts from Hong Kong and Switzerland are joining forces today for a constructive dialogue that will hopefully trigger new ideas, initiatives, and increase the awareness of sustainable water management. It might sound naive that such an event will lead to huge and fast changes, but as we all know, a long journey begins with the first step, or better said, many a drop make an ocean. Today, do not hesitate to add your water to the well. Plunge into the debate, refresh the audience with your remarks, even if you swim against the current. I wish us all a constructive morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rita. Please take your seat. Thank you so much for sharing.